friends, this is Robbie here, and I'm coming to you today because I wanted to talk to you about our 5th grade school year. So we're going into 6th grade for my youngest. My older two, we graduated, one in 2021 and the other one graduated, I don't even know. Anyway, one's 22 and one is 19. So we've graduated 2 homeschoolers, and then now I have my third, who is going into 6th grade. But I never talked about what we were going to use for 5th grade. So what I thought I would do is sort of a recap and go over what we used in 5th grade, whether or not what we used worked for us, whether or not we actually used it at all. Anyway, without further ado, I want to turn the camera around and just kind of go over what we used and how the materials worked for us. And then I will very shortly film what we're going to be using for 6th grade. Okay, so I think what I want to do is just kind of go around the table, talk about the various subjects that I have out, and just kind of work the camera this way. It's just going to be easier, I think, to do it this way. So let's just start up here in the left corner. We'll start with math. So we actually used 3 different math curriculum this year. When we moved here, we started with a virtual charter, and it had a homeschool model for this particular charter, and you picked your curriculum and you taught at home. Your teacher didn't really intervene unless you requested their help. And so it was still a very homeschool environment, even though it technically was not homeschool, it was virtual school. And as the years went on, I decided to pull my son out of the virtual full-time and just do part-time with him at the virtual school, because I really wanted to incorporate more Christian materials into our homeschool. And but they had already paid for our math program, which was Shiller, and it encompassed 3 or more years of math. So we stuck with the charter school for math, and then we'd usually pick one other subject because you could do up to 2. And I only say all of that to give you some insight into why we did some of the selections we did. So I had wanted to do a 6th grade curriculum, just sort of front to back, just some sort of straightforward front to back 6th grade curriculum, because we'd already covered 6th grade math. He's going into 5th grade. We'd already covered 6th grade math. The next step would have been pre-algebra, and I just wanted to make sure there weren't any gaps. I just kind of, felt like he was still really young at that point, and I just wanted to go through a 6th grade curriculum and just make sure that all of his skills were solid. But they didn't have a selection that I was interested in. We already had the Shiller, which I plan to use, but I tend to use it more nowadays. I use it more for teaching concepts, and then for practice, I use a little more traditional method, workbooky kind of thing. And so I wanted Horizons. Horizons had been previously allowed by the charter school, but they after 3rd grade they don't allow it anymore. I guess there's too much religious content in it, so they wouldn't allow Horizons. And the only other thing that would have been appropriate for what we wanted was Saxon. And I didn't want to do Saxon. My older two, when they were in private school, used Saxon, and I didn't really like it. I think it's a solid program. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just wanted something that was, a little more visual and colorful, because that's just how my son learns best. So since they refused, that's a harsh word, but since they would not do the Horizons, I had them get us the understanding pre-algebra. We were going to continue with the Shiller, and then I found this Abeka Arithmetic 6 at a thrift store, completely unused. And a friend of mine had the teacher's manual, and she wasn't using it, so she let me borrow the teacher's manual. So this was my front to back 6th grade curriculum that we used. And some of you may be thinking, well, if you don't like Saxon, why are you going with Abeka? One of the big complaints with Saxons tends to be the amount of problems that they require. And that seems to be the big complaint with the Abeka as well. So I start looking through it, and I'm like, okay, well, we skipped some of the lessons that I thought were just concepts that he knew really well. I didn't want to go over. So when I'm looking at this, and each lesson usually is a front and a back, front and back, front and back. So I thought, that's not too much. We could do this. So we started doing it, and all of a sudden, I'm like, whine, 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 complain, complain, complain. I don't want to do math. Can we do the fun math? I don't like this math. Oh my goodness, it just got really bad, and I'm like, okay, I see now why people don't want to use Abeka. So what I figured out, it was definitely the amount of review. So I started using this in such a way that for the lesson, it gives you a little lesson here. My guess is, we never used Abeka before, so my guess is these are previously covered concepts. I don't think these are all new concepts. It seems like 6th grade math is more of just going a little deeper and not doing as much new. I don't know. I could be wrong. Again, it was review for us for 90% of what was in here. So we'd go over the lesson. He'd do the problems that were related to the lesson itself. And then when it came to the review, I would handpick what he needed to do. Anything that I thought that he really needed more practice on, then I would have him do just a couple problems with. And all of a sudden, the load lifted, the light was shining, the sun was bright. We were happy with math again. So if that is helpful to you, whatever math curriculum you're using, it's a Montessori concept. Closure and competency. Those are the two things that they really want in Montessori math. You want them to have competency and you want them to have closure. And they might have closure, or once they achieve competency, then they may have closure almost immediately, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want to keep doing those types of problems because they enjoy them. It gives them confidence. They don't have the closure. So that's kind of how I went through this. We just did the practice that we felt like we needed, and as we went on, you can see I'm crossing stuff out. You don't need it, don't need it. Once I realized he had competency, and closure, I just did not keep going. So this ended up working out really well. We almost finished it. I'd say we're probably 2/3 of the way through it. We will continue with this next year just to finish it out because it's on a geometry unit, and I really want to do that. So understanding pre-algebra. Since all of that was pretty much review, I really wanted to start working through pre-algebra and see kind of where he was at with these concepts. I wanted to see if he understood them, see if they were, too difficult or whatever. I mean, pre-algebra tends to be a lot of review or at least application of what you previously learned. And that's exactly what we found with this. It, in some cases, was just review. In some cases, it really went deeper and it really made him think. And so we haven't gotten too far in this. We're, I don't know, a quarter of the way through maybe. Sorry, I mark pages that we need to use for reference as well. So I've got more than one marker here, but, and then I marked where the answer key part is. So I don't know, maybe a quarter of the way through on this one. So we'll continue to do this one next year. And now with Shiller, book 5 in the second kit for Shiller wasn't my favorite. It was just a lot of charts and graphs and things like that, and it really wasn't my favorite. So when I didn't know how much of this I was going to use, but as I started getting into it, I love the way it teaches some of these concepts. I just love this book. I love Shiller for the way it teaches math, and I like going at math from different approaches. My son has a tendency to get pigeonholed into a method of solving problems, and if that concept comes up in a different way, he won't know how to do it because it's not the way he learned it, right? So I'm trying to get him to think mathematically, and so coming at math from different approaches has been really helpful. So we're not that far into this. This goes through pre-algebra, so we're going to continue with this next year as well. And I think next year, because we'll finish this Abeka pretty quickly, because like I said, we don't have that much left in it. And I want to say the last unit in here is one that we probably won't do, and I can't remember what it is, but I want to say I looked at it and I'm like, we don't need that, because again, it's mostly review anyway. I'm getting really long-winded with math, but it's one of the primary things we focused on this year was math, and so sorry, yeah, I'm spending more time on that. Trust me, a lot of this other stuff is going to go fast, I promise you. All right, so I flipped my camera around so I wouldn't keep getting my finger in the frame. So, Understand Geography is a simple little book. It really just goes into map reading and directions. It goes into learning about the hemispheres and all of that kind of stuff. So I pulled this up. We didn't do it very much. We got, I don't know, a third of the way through this. You'll notice a theme as we go through here with regard to the other materials that we used. We didn't get that far in this, but it's good. I like it. It's not a consumable. You probably, I guess you could write it in it if you wanted to, but I like that it's not a consumable, so it can be reused. So, marine biology. All right, so for science, I don't know if you guys have seen any of my previous curriculum videos, but we've been doing this a long time, a ridiculously long time, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. This is a unit. It's not supposed to be an entire year's worth of science, and yet we're still doing it. I pulled the teacher's guide. Oh yeah, I pulled the teacher's guide because the student sheets are in file folders. So I really like this. I really like the marine biology. I like the units with the good and the beautiful, but there's prep involved. And if you don't look ahead to see what items you need for the experiments or the activities, then you can get stuck. And that's happened to us numerous times. I have a science-minded kid. He loves science. He really, really wants to do more science together. But he tends to do a lot of science on his own. He's got more science books than I could even count. And he's read 2 Apologia textbooks just for fun. He's read the chemistry one. He's also read the anatomy and physiology book, again, for fun. So it's not like he's not getting science, you guys. We also have Generation Genius. He watches that a lot. So I just regret that we have not finished this so that we can move on to another unit or a curriculum where we can do more science together. This one, we only have 2 lessons left in this one. So I plan to try to get that done this summer. So we're not going into the school year with that one. All right, so I told you that we do 2 classes with the charter. So I couldn't think of another subject to do except for language arts. And although I had my little favorites that we were using from last year that I still love, some of them crossed over into what they would allow us to use. So I went ahead and decided to do language arts with the charter. So we had to go from BJU spelling to spelling workout. Now, spelling workout does include middle school grade leveled spelling. And where a BJU only stops at 6th grade. So I can't remember if this is a 6th or 7th grade level because it's level F, but whatever it is, we did this and it was okay. I don't like it as well. It only has 3 work pages per 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it only has 3 work pages instead of 4. For each week's worth of spelling. It doesn't really give you anything to do for these bonus words, except I think in the teacher manual it tells you that they can write them down and look them up and write the definitions or something like that. So that I'm not real crazy about. It did the job, but he missed the BJU. He liked it better. So I mean, again, it does its job and it was fine, but I can't say it's a favorite. I can't say I won't use it again because if we decide to continue with spelling, it's the only one I know of that goes past 6th grade. So if you guys know of another spelling curriculum that goes beyond 6th grade, let me know because like I said, it did the job, but it wasn't my favorite. Okay, so geography, we really wanted to do more United States geography. I had picked, not this school year, but this previous one, the Confessions of a Homeschooler, U.S. geography course, and it was just too much. Like, there was just too much to it. It really could be a full history curriculum the way they have some other books integrated into it. And it was just too much. I couldn't do that on top of everything else. So this is really good. This has a lot of excellent information about each state. And did we do this? No, not really. But we did a little bit. But I love this. This is really good. This right here would make an excellent geography study, and there's no reason really to have a curriculum if you use this. I honestly believe that because I think it's really good. So I wanted to talk about it. This is what we had planned for Bible curriculum. So I had picked this up from a friend who was giving away some curriculum. This was completely unused. It is the same curriculum that we'd been using since kindergarten, and we had finished the 3rd grade, so we were going into the 4th grade level of this. And I was fine with that. I didn't feel like we had to have quote unquote 5th grade, for this. But what happened during the 3rd grade level, I believe it was, they quit putting in the stories that had the object lessons in them. And we called them Today Stories. And those stories were just object lessons that taught about the concept that they were learning in the Bible curriculum. And it sort of sucked the life out of it for us. That was one of the favorite parts of it for my son. And if you've, familiar with our channel, we do also have Bible quiz competition and through our church. And it's a huge deal. It ends up being like an hour of study a day, if not more. Their team is very, very, very good. They made it to nationals this year. They scored really well. They did not place like in the top group, but they placed in the 3rd group out of 9 for a national competition out of 72 teams. They did really, really well. I'm very, very proud of them. But anyway, with all of that on top of more Bible study, if it didn't have the part that was really the most enriching, it just seemed like I put it aside. We only did like 1 lesson out of here. And I still love this, and this has a lot of stories in it, object lesson stories, and I was literally going through here and finding stories to correlate with what we were doing in here, and it was just too much. I just ended up just dropping the ball on all of it. But there are also some resources that my son uses on his own for Bible, again, because he enjoys them. And so I don't really feel like that he was gypped in that area, between Bible quiz and the other things he reads. He's getting a lot of Bible, but I miss the discussions. I miss the interaction with sitting down and doing Bible with him. So I have a plan for this next school year to try to do more of that, and I will share that with you when I talk about our 6th grade curriculum. So language arts. This is all language arts, and it's a lot, people. It's a lot. Language arts, man, that can just take over your homeschool, truly. And it's important. I'm a big advocate. Like if we get nothing else done, we will always get language arts and math done. So again, through the charter, I couldn't do the good and the beautiful handwriting, so I went with the Zahner Blosser. This was fine. It's really good. I like Zahner Blosser handwriting. I think it did the job. Paragraph editing, the school would have paid for this, but I already had it. So I just used it because I love it. I love it. This is all editing. So they learn They learn the editing marks. They then have to take the paragraphs and find all the mistakes and use editing marks to correct them. And if he gets something wrong, we just sit down and I give him little hints if he needs them to try to help him figure it out on his own. I do not tell him unless it's a concept we have not learned. And then actually this makes a great, you can use this for grammar. If you, as they're going through, you can talk about the different grammar mistakes and why they're mistakes. And, I don't know. It's a very organic way to learn grammar. If you wanted to do that. I have a separate grammar curriculum. But when we come across something that we haven't learned in grammar, I will take the time to give a little mini grammar lesson. He's learned a lot of stuff that way through this program. And then we come to it in the grammar and it just reinforces it. But he remembers it when we do it this way. So I just love this. Can't speak highly enough of that. All right, easy grammar. Love easy grammar. Now we got a little more than halfway through this. We did end up setting it aside, and I'll tell you why here in a minute, but it's not because we didn't like the curriculum. It's excellent. I love it for grammar. It's my favorite grammar curriculum out there. And we needed, Wordly Wise was something that, they want you to pick a vocab curriculum. So I picked this. It's okay, but I noticed when we did standardized testing, he actually didn't improve at all in grammar. And so, I keep saying grammar, in vocabulary. He didn't improve at all in vocabulary. In fact, he scored exactly the same as he did last year. And so I don't think this really helped him. I don't know how to explain it. It's not bad. Like, it does give you, I feel like the best way to learn vocabulary is organically through text. And it does give you text. It does give you a way to, show that you understand what the words mean, because you have to pick the appropriate words. You have to make sentences with the words. There's all kinds of things. I think it's good. Like, I don't have a problem with it. It just, I don't know. We ended up putting this aside, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But yeah, we did try that for the first time this year. I don't know if we're going to continue with it or not. 6th grade writing. So I wanted to use Write Shop, but they didn't have Write Shop as an option. So anyway, I picked this because I like it. I think 6th grade is a good approach to writing. And what I found was that writing wasn't getting done. And I've said this so many times before that, by the time we get through all of the other language arts, then we get to the writing and it's like, wah, wah, wah. We'll just do it tomorrow. And then, so anyway, we ended up, I talked to the teacher on record. I'm like, can we just put the other language arts aside, work on writing, and that can be our handwriting, that can be our vocab, that can be our spelling, that can be our, all of that. We just focus on, no spelling. We kept doing spelling. But this could be like just sort of an organic way to practice all of the other things. The vocab we did through the literature. Anyway, so she agreed. So we stopped all of that in order to focus on the writing, and I'm really happy that we did that. I think like BJU has an approach where they do one semester of grammar, then they do another semester of writing, and honestly, I like that approach. I may continue with that on my own. BJU wasn't the best fit for us in terms of English because we did try it, but I like that. Because otherwise it's just a lot. Or maybe 1 week on, 1 week off, alternating. I don't know. But that's what we did. So for reading literature, we used this Mazdas. It's not Christian, but the stories are rich, very virtuous, lots of beautiful discussion questions in there. The workbook I mainly used for vocabulary. So again, going back to the whole learning vocabulary organically, through stories. The only thing this workbook tends to be a lot of busy work. A lot of these questions and pages are just information that's covered in the discussion, which I didn't pull the teacher guide just because I wanted to limit the amount of materials on the table, but the teacher guide has amazing questions, lots of them. So we like to sit down and do this together and do the discussion questions. So I did not have him then turn around and write out answers to discussion questions that we'd already covered. So I use this mainly for the literature. I keep saying that. I use this mainly for the vocabulary that they introduced in the stories that were in here. And this is another program I highly recommend. This is actually the 4th grade level. Ruby, they call these by different gemstones, just so it's not so specific to a grade. But this was supposed to be 4th grade. If you look on their website, it'll say Ruby's 4th grade. But I feel like this is a little advanced, honestly, because I had the BJU 5th grade, which, again, couldn't use through the charter. But I felt like that this was more comparable to the 5th grade in the BJU. And so that's why we picked this. Okay. Oh, this is so embarrassing. Do you know how many years we've done this? I think we started this in 3rd grade. So this is our 3rd year of trying to work through our Star Spangled Story. And it's not because it's not good or we don't like it. It just ends up being kind of pushed to the wayside, or we might get it in once a week. So again, because this is something that we sit down and do together. We read it together. He reads it aloud to me because he learns better through reading. And it also helps me correct, any vocabulary or spelling, not spelling, but pronunciation errors and things like that. And it's the only thing that he reads aloud to me. So I love this, but it just seems to get put aside. So this will get finished this summer. Yes, it will, because we're not doing it again. We're not going to another year of American history. And because I plan to circle back around, we're going to do a full year of American history probably in 8th grade. So 8th, maybe 9th. But either way, yeah, we love this. But we don't use the workbook. We just read through, do the discussion questions. We might do a little project here and there, depending upon what it is. But for the most part, we're just reading a lot of literature to go with. They include a literature pack, plus I pulled a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted him to read, biographies and other, just to be able to go deeper. So that's part of the reason too why it takes longer, because I do pull in other material to go with this, because it's meant to go through 4th grade, and he just completed 5th grade. So I don't think it's too. I really don't think it's too elementary, though, for 5th grade. But I did want to bring in the other materials to go with it. So, but we didn't do the workbook. I do feel like it was a little more of a busy work kind of thing, or coloring sheets, which he hates, that younger kids would probably enjoy. So anyway, that's why we didn't use the workbook. So yeah, that's it. That's it. Actually, there's a health curriculum. There's a health curriculum that we were supposed to do last year that we didn't get to. And I was going to do it this year, and we didn't get to it this year either. No, we did not. So I'll have to, in my 6th grade curriculum choices, share what we have plans for that. So yeah, that's it for today. That's all I got. But I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have anything, or you see anything here that you want me to do a more detailed walkthrough then let me know. There are some things here that I do want to do in a future video. The Moz-DOS, I want to compare it to BJU and do a comparison video on that, and just some other things that I'll probably end up doing. But knowing what you're interested in helps me prioritize and or maybe consider something that I hadn't previously thought to do. So anyway, you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. If you like this kind of content and you want to see what we're doing for 6th grade, what some of the reviews are for some of this material, please do subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you will get the notifications when I do actually upload a video. And also, if you want to do a like on this video, that really helps me too. So thank you again for sharing your time with me today, and you have a great rest of your day.